Here we go. Welcome back to another episode of One Take Tonight. He's Reese, I'm Dan. Producer Reese, how we feeling?
Feeling great, Dan.
We got a great show. We got hot takes. We got for the brand. But first up, we have an athlete, a musician, a big wave surfer, a small wave surfer, a man who does a little bit of everything out in the water. Some people say he lives in the water. The people surfer himself, the pride of Santa Cruz, California, Mr. Chase LaRue.
Hello.
Clap it up, producer Reese. Clap it up.
Wow.
Need more energy, producer Reese. Need more energy. Come on now. All right. Easy, buddy. Easy.
Far exceeded my
Chase.
Expectations for an intro.
Chase, we're just excited to see you, man. Good to be with you. How are you?
Very good. I'm happy to be with you finally. I think we've talked about getting together in the past, and I'm just happy to be here. You know?
One take tonight. We were like, hey, these are early episodes of season 2. We got to get Chase on here, especially after an awesome season down at Mavericks. I want to start with the wave that we talked about last week with Ewan. One of the coolest waves that I've seen in the last few years of covering the big wave scene closely. Can you give the people a little bit of the story behind that? Producer Reese, you got to have that clip once again and of just the chillin' over the top.
Yes.
One of the coolest things I've seen.
That wave, that just came out of left field, but I was kind of planning on catching the waves out of left field this year by just getting my biggest board, sitting as far out to sea as I could and still be able to catch a wave. Because in the past, I've had to scratch over those waves, and I'm not riding them. I'm practically swimming under them. So the whole strategy this year was to be riding the biggest wave and not swimming under the biggest wave, which most of the lineup ends up just paddling for dear life when a wave like that comes. Everyone's perfectly capable of catching it, but they're just not sitting in the right spot. So I just found my spot this year. I committed to it, and I just waited for the right waves to come. And that was opening day. There's always opening day jitters. You never really know how the swell's going to be coming through. I just overestimate swells just to be safe because I'd rather be like on top of it and then, So I think I got a few waves under my belt that day, and things were going smooth. And then I saw this thing stack up on the horizon. I knew it was like about a minute away still. I could see it way out on the horizon. I knew it was going, so I had time to really line up where I wanted to be. I found a perfect chip in from the outside that got me in early before it was even hitting the bowl and like actually standing up. So that's the nerve-wracking part, is catching the wave, standing up, and then wondering what is it going to do when it unloads on that reef, So I just hunkered down. I got ready for like the steepest drop possible. I kind of got over the ledge nice and smooth, and it just started loading up behind me. I could sense it. I knew I was fully safe on the drop. I knew I made the drop, so I just laid into a huge bottom turn. And then after the bottom turn, I just kind of just like released, and I went into like panoramic bliss, and I was taking in like almost like a 360 degree view around me. Everything went basically slow motion, and I just stood there, because I just had gotten through the toughest part of the wave, and I was just enjoying the moment. It was truly genuine, just in the moment surfing, and it was one of the coolest like feelings I've ever had on a wave, because I knew the thing just was like standing up behind me, and like I really have no idea what that looks like until I actually see footage too. So like when I saw Ewan's legendary clip there, like the day after or something, it just blew my mind. I literally couldn't even believe it was that wave. I was just like, whoa, no way, is that me? I freaking did it. I did it.
That's one of the cooler waves that I've seen in the last few years. You talked a little bit about the feeling. I'm curious the relationship between the videographers and the surfers now that we were just kind of touching on that. You need to have the videographers to capture those incredible moments. Like, what's that discussion like with, say, you and after the fact, or when he's producing, or does he just come up to you and he's like, Chase, I just got an incredible shot of you? What's that like?
Dude, sometimes it's like getting off the log ride at Disneyland. There's just photos waiting on your phone before you even get back to the parking lot. And it's like, wow, you did it, and here's your souvenir photo. Sometimes you're just sometimes you're just like hunting down clips, or you're waiting a few days just wondering, like, there were 10 cameras out there, like, when is a clip going to surface of that wave, you know? So I'm not really in direct contact or organizing with any photographers really when I go out there. I just assume on a good iconic day out there's going to be plenty of photographers, and I really try not to put that pressure on my surfing, because I really just want to focus on getting the good waves. So I just see it as just like an extra bonus prize when clips do come up, you know. And then of course photographers, they'll send proof photos out and be like, hey, I got this of you, and if it looks good and I actually have some money in my bank account, I'm always happy to like buy a sequence and like get some photos, and it's always really cool. But I just depend on just luck and the goodwill of the photographers, you know. It's a funny vibe with photographers. It's a different scene. It's almost like another lineup that's happening out there.
Yeah, especially because there's some from the two different angles up top on the bluff, and then the far angle, and then there's folks that are actually in the channel with you, and you never know who's going to be out, right? It's one of those things that each and every day is going to be a little bit different. When you caught that wave, did you think it was going to come out as electric as it did, or did you just think of it as like, oh, another wave?
I knew
it. I've caught a million of these in the past.
Yeah, no, I knew it, like, it would come off. Like, I mean, I was obviously like in a pretty casual stance, like, and I was like, I was chilling on the wave, so I knew that would come through on whatever photo came, but I had no idea of like what was actually kind of really loading up behind me. I was just kind of just in this just like random bliss day. I could see the wall in front of me, and yeah, but I knew it was something special when I was riding the wave. Like, definitely.
That's sweet. You were talking a little bit about the different types of seasons. You never know exactly what you're going to get. Last time I chatted with you was in October at the Safety Summit before the swell goes live. You kind of joked that you, going into each season, each November, December, you don't even know if you can still big wave surf. So first day out there in particular, talk to me about those jitters a little bit. Is it, you haven't ridden anything that big in a number of months, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So like the jitters are there no matter, like, I always try to go get some like gnarly waves down in Mexico during the summer, but those are kind of a different vibe. And I'm usually like keeping up my fitness and doing everything I can, and every year I kind of switch up my preparation just to see if I can like hone in a little bit closer to just feel confident. So like deep down, I'm confident that I'm not gonna like drown. Just like I know I'll be able to like hold my breath unless I get like knocked out or something. So like I know that's there, but it just, even session to session, like I can have a couple sessions under my belt and still going out, paddling out, I'm wondering if I know how to surf up until the moment I catch that first wave. Like literally, yeah. It's like that. And I may have even surfed the whole week prior in like decently sized waves. But every time I'm out at Mavs, it's like a little confidence reset. But I'm usually pretty confident that I'll be okay. The biggest jitters that come are just looking at the swell forecast, actually. That's nerve-wracking because you can sometimes see 2 up to 3 weeks out of like projected swells, And even with all the great,
once you're in the water, I feel like a lot of those jitters probably go away. You see, the boys and the ladies out there talk a little shop, and then it's just you're kind of in that mode.
That is the deal. That's what I found this year, for especially like the really gnarly big days that I paddled out. I just realized that if I just paddle to the channel, I can trust my own sensors and feeling in the moment to decide where I'm going to position myself or if I'm going to surf. And I always tell myself every year, like, don't worry about the big wave season. Keep surfing until it scares you so much that you don't want to go back. And it still hasn't happened yet. So I keep going back. It hasn't scared me enough.
Different mindset the surfers have, man.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. One of the underrated things, maybe not underrated, but things that people don't necessarily take into account, you mentioned the paddle out at Mavericks. It's pretty long. If you don't get a ride out, you don't get on the jet ski. If you are just going directly from the beach there, you can do the cheat route, but that can be a little bit dangerous. The paddle out all the way around. I mean, what's that like? If you're not in great shape, you can be gassed by the time you get out there.
Yeah, that is something. The paddle out on like a medium-sized day, even though it's quite turbulent in the lagoon, it can be a nice leisurely stroll out. And I usually just kind of go at like just a merrily we row along kind of pace. Just do, no matter how nervous I am or how much of a rush I'm in. I'm just trying to pace it because the whole big wave session is kind of a different flow than like just hustling around trying to get a bunch of like waves at a beach break or something, you know?
Yeah.
So, but when it gets big, there's definitely a lot of question marks that come into play when you're paddling out, because if you don't make it past Mushroom Rock, you can get kind of swept down the way to like what seems to be just some of the gnarliest screwed up reefs you could ever encounter on this earth. I mean, I remember one time a couple years back, I had to take the long route way down, and I luckily slipped by Blackhand Reef, which looked like 40-foot Chopu waves just breaking, just like insanity, and I was just lucky to not just get axed by one of those. That turned into being like a multiple, like almost probably up to like 4 or 5 mile paddle, just because I missed the slot right at Mushroom Rock. So it can be.
These are the things that people don't take into consideration, like all the logistics that go into actually getting out there. People see the end product, the sweet waves, but you're not just like dropped in there, man. You got to do so much in preparation. You got to know when to go, what time of day, how to get out there. It's a lot. Come up from Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I'm trying to and timing the swell, especially on super, super giant swells, you can kind of maybe sneak out at a high tide morning when the swell hasn't risen, and then you can be at least out there by the time the 100-footers are coming or whatever, So
you bring up the 100-footers. I was asking Ewan about it last week. Santa Cruz local Aloe, who was the Rider of the Year 2024, right? I don't know what year it is anymore.
Yeah.
Caught that, what appeared to be in the 100-foot range. I'm curious how we're still counting like by the number of guys out there, the height of each wave. But
dude,
is that up there with the biggest waves that you've seen? It has to be, right?
Yeah, I was out that day. I was lucky enough to scratch into one wave out there that morning. And then I just kind of like floated in the channel and was watching some of those waves come through. The one, I'm pretty sure it's the big one that Aloe got. When I was watching it, the whole horizon just stacked up into a wall. I thought the waves were going to break in the channel. It was even like feathering and breaking on the other side of the boats. And it was just, but when it hit the reef, like the way it loaded up, it broke all scale and judgment of wave size. Like it just went to an order of magnitude rather than like really like size and height, because he just turned into like the tiniest little Ant-Man on the thing. And it was just mesmerizing. Like I just couldn't believe it. Like I was like just screaming. Like I don't even know what I was screaming, but I was just screaming when it happened.
It's the only reasonable reaction, I feel like.
Yeah.
And the wave, most of your surfing is paddling. Do you do any towing, or have you done much towing this year? I know there were a few big days in December, if I recall.
No, I'm a paddler. I just don't have the budget for a ski, the maintenance on jet skis, and just like
the people surfer, man. That's what I'm saying. The people surfer.
I'm using the old fashioned way, my oars that came attached to me at birth. And yeah, it kind of worked out to my benefit this year, actually, because I ended up being like getting some of the coolest paddle waves on days when everyone just kind of rode off paddling and they were all on their jet skis and having fun. And it's hilarious because I have so much respect for the guys towing in. There seems to be this huge divide of respect for like tow-in surfers versus paddle surfers, which of course I love the old-fashioned way, but man, all those guys towing in, they're like, dude, they're supreme paddle surfers, and they're just using their machines to kind of go to the next level. And it just so happens, just to practice up, they kind of have to tow on days where they could be paddling. But you know, I respect the craft as long as they're not just like zooming through my face with their jet ski or whatever while I'm paddling. But yeah, I find like kind of like a harmonious kind of balance with the jet skis out there. I appreciate it. It's a cool vibe.
Producer Reese, I believe you had a question for Chase. First thing that pops in my head is we gotta start selling more Sartoro suits and get Chase a sponsored OneTake Media jet ski out there. I mean, come on.
Oh, he would look sharp in a suit,
Dude,
in a Sartoro suit as well.
I'm actually getting married this year, so I actually really need a suit.
Oh, hello.
Dang.
Hello.
Let's go.
Yeah. So
Talk about time.
if we could hook up a suit, that would really help out.
Okay. We'll have to chat with our guy Andy after the fact, and I think Chase would look pretty electric in a OneTake blue suit. Producer Reese, your question?
Yeah, Chase, I wanted to steer more away from surfing and ask you more about your music. So my question was, a lot of your fan base knows that you're also a musician. And, I was looking at your Spotify earlier, playing a couple of the tracks. Golden Sand is a banger. That was a banger.
Yeah, Golden Sand.
You mentioned on your Spotify bio how you draw a lot of inspiration from a diverse amount of like influences, and obviously there's probably a lot of surf influence, skate influence, a lot of stuff from around. What inspires your music is what I want to ask, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been playing guitar since I was like 10 years old, and I started out playing just like really just classic rock blues stuff like Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin. So I had kind of like a fiery, electrified vibe, and then I would always waver between my music and surfing when I was young because I would focus really hard on things, and I was obsessed with guitar for just many years when I was young. So I played in a lot of bands. I played in like some like pop punk bands like in the early 2000s, and then that was my thing for a while. Went to music school. And so I've got like a bachelor's in like general music studies. So I sung in choir, I did jazz like ensembles, and I practiced classical guitar. My college classical guitar is what got me to where I'm at now with my guitar playing, because I kind of adapted like a dynamic finger picking / pick and electrified sound. So like with some flamenco roots, I was practicing with like flamenco things. But in college, what I was mainly doing was gigging in like rock bands, funk bands. I ended up in like a lot of backing bands for hip hop artists that were coming through town, and they would just give us a CD, and I would have to kind of learn and make. There wouldn't even be a guitar part on some things. I would just have to kind of just render something that was similar to the beat, and it was always fun because you get a hip hop artist and you'd like kick into a beat, he'd be like, that's kind of what, but then you like kick into the next song and you'd be like, damn, you guys are doing it better than like the last band I was with. Like, so it was like really cool. It was like a little box of chocolates for everyone involved. And then I got pulled into like the reggae, just like almost like the Cali Roots reggae scene, touring with a band called Synergy, and we toured all up and down the West Coast. And so that was like the last like professional music I was playing before I like actually ended up in Santa Cruz. And that's actually what brought me to Santa Cruz. Our merch guy knew a guy that works for the surf school that I work for, and so I ended up in Santa Cruz. So I've played all the styles, and now I've been kind of over the electric guitar, and I've just basically been playing like solo acoustic gigs lately. And working on my set that and I play music with my beautiful fiance. She sings music. She has a beautiful voice, and we sing. We just do classic, cool covers of like awesome like kind of countryish songs and stuff. So
nice. I find it really cool how part of your music career brought you to the Santa Cruz area. I actually wanted to ask you another question about that. There's a video clip of your Instagram of you ripping up a skate park in Santa Cruz, and I asked a lot of surfers the same question actually. Like, what did you start with? Did you start with skating or start with surfing? Because I mean, they go obviously. There's a lot of transferable skills between the two, but I want to know from you, what would you start out doing? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a really serious blend there. I started out when I was baby getting pushed into waves on a surfboard with my dad and stuff, obviously. So that was kind of the first board I was on. But the most accessible thing for like a young kid is the skateboard. So I was skateboarding when I was like in elementary school and stuff, and I would go to like Van's skate park down in Orange County when it opened, and I was like really into the pool there and the vert ramp. So I like made it like my goal to like drop in on the vert ramp when I was like 10 years old.
So you were more of a transition skater then, like more so.
Yeah,
Okay.
More of a transition skater. I like the pools. I still skate the pools around here. This year actually I broke my elbow skating, which was very unfortunate. But I'm together now. It moves, so we're good. So the tough thing is with skateboarding, I literally use it as cross training for my other board sports. But the little catch-22 there is if you let your guard down, you could actually break yourself enough to where you can't do your other board sports, right? So it's a fine line. Getting into my later years here, I'm just trying to curb the skateboarding back,
Understandable.
Really.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Producer Reese is one of San Francisco's finest skate rats growing up. So.
Dude, classic.
I don't know if I was a certified skate rat, but I was definitely in the
Killer
streets.
skate rat.
You're out there, dude.
I was
You're
in the
out there.
streets, man. Yeah.
Giving off skate rat vibes with those with that squeaky
Squeaky fire.
What you call it there in the background?
In the background, yeah.
smoke detector in the background, man. This is a real professional setup you got going. Chase, we're talking about the spook. What's the spook, and how would you explain it to someone who doesn't know anything about surfing?
Well, the spook, it definitely comes easier when it's foggy out. So that would just add automatic spook if you're not if you don't even know what the waves are looking like. But
Yeah.
the spook can just kind of come mostly from anticipation and worry and stress about what's actually out there. I just got the spook just on Monday. We were out on foggy day at Mavs, and it was totally manageable size. But like once you can't see more than like 100 feet away, you're like, dude, where?
Godzilla's out there, man.
What is coming? And then there's just always I'm not like a finely tuned high performance surfer dude like Kai Lenny. Like he has
That's what makes you lovable, though. You're just
Yeah.
out there. You're like the local people surfer.
but
That's what
adds a few questions.
Chase LaRue brand.
It adds a few question marks to me taking off on a wave, to where I'm like, okay, I caught the wave. Here we go. I'm going over the ledge. What's gonna happen now? Ooh, I don't know. So that's the spooky part for me, is just like, here we go. I know I'm confident enough to send it, but what happens when I send it? I feel like some other surfers, they're just so dialed that they're just like, boom, like, wow. Like they can just do it. Like, I don't know. It's crazy out there. What's your experience with the spook, dude?
A few times at Montera. I've never done Mavericks, but I remember a handful of times getting out at Montera just because of the deep water. It's like deep. It goes from shallow to pretty sharky, almost feel very quickly. And then if it's a little bit dark, a little bit later in the day, there's a decent amount of time between sets. You're like, your brain just starts to play a few games there.
I've really tried to factor out the critters out there. Because
if you start playing the critter game, then you're in trouble for sure.
Yeah, and they're out there.
That's why I stick to the interviewing and not so much getting into Mavericks.
Classic. Yeah, they're out there for sure.
What do you think? So you mentioned Kai Lenny there. You think that your surfing is a little bit more rough around the edges? I mean, there's so much that's the thing is like once you're out at a place like Mavericks, you're already in like the top 0.1% of surfers, and then the next iteration is, you know, the best in the world essentially. So how do you think about trying to, you know, compete with those guys and gals versus also just like do your own thing out there?
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing. Like a lot of those super pros, they'll come in on these really good swells, and then I'll be sitting there with just like these like icons of the sport, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what what is this? And
but you can hang with these boys.
I'm hanging. It's mostly because like I specialize at Mavericks, and I've just spent so much time focusing on it and getting sorted out there that my operation in the water is probably top notch. You know, like my navigating of the lineup and knowing what other people are going to be doing out there, knowing how to avoid just weird situations that are dangerous. That's where my forte is, and reading the ocean and just knowing by feel. I mean, I can paddle like crazy, so I know paddling is one of my strengths. So there's a lot of those stats that I really feel I'm up there with the big dogs. But then it comes down to just like, I don't know, just, you know, travel funds to get to different waves to kind of generalize your big wave surfing skills, and then just like certain fine-tuned equipment. You know, I don't really have the budget to be like fine-tuning my equipment every year. I mean, this orange board that's above my head, that was shaped by my dad like 10 years ago, and that's been my main board through my whole Mavericks career. Really, there's a replica basically right above it, and then just a couple years ago I got a 10.6 Timponi board, which he's a shaper out of Maui that I'm good friends with, and I just trusted him to make my like super quiver that would be for like Jaws or something. So I just have my go-to boards, and I'm not really changing much through the year or season to season, you know. So that's kind of where I'm missing certain progression, is really developing new boards year by year based on how I feel. I noticed Kai Lenny will make a new board for almost each swell, it seems like, you know. It's like he'll like bust one out and just
Right. Different ball game there. Mm-hmm. Different ball game for sure. Last question I got for you here, Chase. I remember asking some of the surfers at the Mavs Awards last year about their welcome to Mavericks moment. You've been out there for a decade plus now. Is that a fair assessment? I don't know the exact time frame, but
pretty much a decade.
Congrats on that, man. 10 years out at Mavs. Yeah. What was your welcome to Mavericks moment in the early days, if you had one?
You know, there was just this one day where a lot of the good pros were out, and I happened to just like actually get my first real bomb, and it was just my wave. No one else was paddling for it. I found a photo of it later. It was even before I even got one of the inflation vests, so I was just in a wetsuit. And it was just like the most just
ballsy.
Yeah, and it was just like one of the coolest photos I've ever got. My dad actually got like a what seems to be like a 4-foot like aluminum print on his wall of the wave, and every time I go look at that, I'm like, whoa, dude, that was it. But also that day there was like a Red Bull photographer out there, and I got in on one of like the Red Bull edits, and that's when I was like, oh, dude, I'm in the edit, like they got footage of my cool wave, and I'm like, I'm in there, you know? But I'd have to say it's taken up until this season to really refine my approach. And I mean, besides a little spill I took out there on Monday, my whole season was flawless. I made every single wave that I paddled for. And I got some of the just craziest waves of my life. I was looking forward to those actually getting entered into the Mavericks Awards, but we just heard that they're not going to actually run the contest this year. So I thought it might be my first year to actually get an award. I was like, dude, I think I could win something. But in my heart, I know I got some winter waves, and those will stand the test of time. I'll always look back on these waves from this season and just be like, wow, dude, you did it, dude. You've done it.
You did it, Chase LaRue, man. Some awesome ones, man. Well, if I was a voting man, I would 100% vote that first one that we talked about as wave of the year, man. Appreciate your time. Chase, when's your next show for the people out there that want to see you down at Old Princeton Landing or one of the other local spots here in NorCal?
Old Princeton Landing is going to be my next show, and that is on May 28th, and that is opening for Landon McNamara, who I'm going to be hitting the road with, and we're going to be in San Luis Obispo the day after, and right after that down in Ventura. So that will be a very fun run with Landon McNamara. He's got some cool tunes. You got to check out his tunes. He's just got some real bangers. So I hope to see basically everyone that I know from the big wave world, Mavs world, at the OPL on May 28th, a Wednesday.
Mark your calendar, producer Reese. We got to get there.
That's the show. Yeah.
That's the show. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've got some good material for it. I've been really working on my set, refining things, and it's going to be some hot fire, as they say.
Some flames out of our boy Chase LaRue, the People Surfer, man. Thanks, bro.
Oh, thank you so much. Love you guys.
Appreciate you, bro. We love you back, man. Chase, that was awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks. Welcome into Hot Takes. Producer Reese, what do we got?
Dan, entertainment zones in SF. Tell me about that, please.
My boy Daniel Lurie, who we did meet about 6 months ago, may want to have him on OneTake tonight coming up. Mayor Lurie, floor is open to you. 5 new entertainment zones proposed downtown San Francisco. I don't know why they're investing so much in that particular area. I feel like the idea is to keep that open a little bit later. I think they should be keeping the marina open later. I think they should be keeping North Beach open later. I think they should be keeping in my opinion, cooler areas of the city open a little bit later. Balboa Cafe closing at 1:30-ish, 1:45-ish.
Soft. Yeah. What's up?
Let's keep that open until 3, 4. Come on now. Yeah. Who wants to hang out at, I don't know, Moscone Center until 4 a.m.? I sure don't.
No. I want to be at Balboa Cafe till 4 a.m. That's where I want to be.
Any thoughts on that one, Producer Reese? I mean, I don't know if you saw the actual proposal, but there were 5 areas downtown, Folsom Street area. Kind of cool, but...
I mean, yeah, when I think of downtown, ultimately, it doesn't strike me as an area where there's already a lot of people, I mean, and as we've seen, like, even parts of Union Square these days look kind of desolate, right? So, like you said...
No, Union Square is pretty hype. Union Square gets hyped. There was a lot of folks out and about for, Tulip Festival. I think they're trying to get Pier 39, too. I guess the main idea is that you can drink on the street, and it's open a little bit later.
Okay.
So...
Well, then there is appeal to that.
I like it.
Yeah.
Overall, I like it. I would say let's just try to keep other parts of the city open a little bit more. Yeah, that area. Meh.
Yeah.
My take. Okay. Producer Stockton Kings win the G League. How hype was the city the other night?
Oh, dude, I was at the sushi bar on Sunday, and we had all the Stockton townies. A lot of dudes who look like me, short Filipino dudes, come in their Stockton Kings jersey. They're like, Kings, baby. I don't know much about basketball, but that's according to local news. That's what the Stockton Kings have been up to, is winning the G League. Don't know what that means. If you want to explain that to me, Dan, I'd appreciate that.
I'm happy for you, man. I know you've been a dedicated fan all season.
Yeah.
Going to all these games, wearing jerseys of your boys. Do you have any memorable moments from a championship season in Stockton?
Championship season? Yeah, no, I don't, off the top of my head. I'm glad you asked.
No memorable moments?
I do not, yeah.
They had a few good battles with the Santa Cruz Warriors, who's my team.
Oh, really?
Big fan of the Santa Cruz Warriors. I used to go to games back 2015 when I first moved out to California. Shout out Santa Cruz Warriors.
Did the Warriors smoke them? Or
this season, they're 2 of the better programs in the G League. So
okay.
Awesome. Wow. Yep. Congrats to Stockton Kings.
Yeah, no, you and I took a look at the OSL lineup a couple weeks back during our boys' weekend. I mean, not super impressive. Talk about that a little bit, Dan.
Well, I'm not trying to be too subjective here. I just didn't know a ton of folks on there. I saw Ludacris was on there. Yeah. The other folks I can't say I know super well. Will we see someone else get added last minute? I.e., I believe it was Sabrina Carpenter got thrown on, replacing Tyler the Creator. Tyler the Creator is now on the 2025 lineup. Can't say I know his music super well.
Yeah.
Did it get me hype? Did it get me fired up? Was Lil Uzi Vert on there?
Yeah.
No.
That's what I was gonna say. Relative to the past two that we've gone to, I mean, relative to those, it didn't seem very, striking to me, is what I'm saying. And I wasn't even at the first one that you guys went to, so.
Previous years have been a little bit more electric.
Mm-hmm.
Will we still go? Probably.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe will we film it? I don't know. Maybe too. We'll see. TBD.
No, I think I've retired, dude. I'm in my early 30s now, man. I think I got, we had the one good year, 2022.
Yeah.
2025.
Banger year.
Feel a little old, but
yeah.
I can still bring it.
Speed cameras in SF. What's going on with that?
Scam, producer Reese.
Yeah.
Biggest scam that I've seen maybe in the history of my lifetime. They're trying to make it say, well,
it sounds personal.
I guess the counter argument, yeah, there's nothing personal about it, man. I definitely, still do not have some $500 outstanding ticket I never paid from 2+ years ago.
Yeah.
Scam. I don't understand this one. I think, and I guess there's like traffic deaths in the city. I don't know if this is going to completely mitigate traffic deaths, bring it down to zero. Mm-hmm. You can imagine a world where everything is completely safe and plane tickets cost $200,000 a piece. I don't know if I want to live in that world. We're always weighing pros and cons of certain things. Speed cameras. It just feels so intrusive, so invasive. If you ever, it's just the government is just getting into your face.
Yeah.
With a camera.
Like
while you're driving.
1984.
A sacred duty of driving. I mean, the driving, they already make track everything with the newer cars, what have you. That's why I still drive my old Honda there.
Nice.
Definitely not because I don't want to pay $150,000 for a newer car. Definitely not a factor.
I'm right.
But I don't get it. That's what I'd want to talk to Mayor Lurie about. The speed cameras, I'm out.
We should get him on. Yeah. Maybe.
I don't think he'd do it at this point. If we almost got him pre-election.
Yeah.
I want to get Mayor Breed on. I want to get former Mayor Breed on and get her.
Oh.
I will message her in the coming weeks. I have some good ideas for guests coming up. For the brand next. Okay, quick episode of For the Brand. Producer Reese, your smoke alarm. All you had to do was take out the battery. It was bothering everybody for 2 episodes of OneTake tonight. We're trying to up our production game, and you just can't even use your brain. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wasn't using my brain. Although I don't have a working smoke alarm right now, I will have to figure out a way to put the battery back in and turn it off somehow. But yeah, it's kind of brought down the production value of this episode. Hand up there. I was trying to ask questions to our friend Chase LaRue, and apparently Dan couldn't hear me half the time. I'm just trying to speak. There's chirping in the background. Can't have it. Really can't have it. I just got to be better next time. So that's just what I got to do. I got to use my head.
We got to clean that up. Just the fact that it took such little effort to make it happen.
Yeah.
Between episodes, we might have to clip in some of the behind the scenes there. All you had to do was go over and press a button on the side.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Could have done that before. Could have done that during. And you made the conscious choice not to do that. So
I did. Yeah.
It's just producer Reese 101.
Yeah, textbook me really. So just got to be better there. Just got to be a smarter, better person every day. Yeah.
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 You're not really doing the work on that, but that's okay.
Yeah. Stober Wedding in San Diego. What happened there? Tell me the stories.
Fun. Good amount of socializing. Producer Reese may have been FaceTime. We got shout out to our friends at Sartoro. I thought Michael had a pretty electric suit. He went with the gray, a little bit more of a classic look.
That's very classy.
His beautiful now wife looked outstanding as well.
Nice.
I tried to clean it up a little bit. Went with the chinos look.
Oh.
There were some talks about the chino look.
We might have to clip a picture if you got one. We might have to clip a photo.
Might have to throw one in there.
Yeah.
It was a fun weekend. Cliff and producer Reese almost threw hands on FaceTime.
Yeah, that was exciting. Yeah.
That was good for morale.
Yeah.
And, some other things.
I don't know. Do we have a beef?
Is
there a beef between... Does Cliff have beef?
I think there might be a Cliff and producer Reese beef. I don't know. Cliff was beefing with a lot of folks.
Was he?
Well, maybe not a lot. Not a lot. But, he was in his element. He had a great performance. So shout out to Seacliff.
Okay.
Did a great job as always.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah.
One of the smoothest athletes you'll ever see, man. You should have seen Seacliff back in the day, man. Just smooth lefty jumper. We might have to throw in a clip of him.
Back in Dedham High.
Burying a couple jumpers.
That's electric. Yeah.
It was a great weekend. What else can I report? I think that's about it. Thanks for joining. We'll see you on the next one.